feeling back to himself again, and he's been coming in, getting a couple extra workouts just to try to get his lungs burning and try to get himself back into shape. And Braden, yeah, he feels good. Obviously, he shook the rust off pretty quickly in that game the other night with the way that he played on the offensive end. And, obviously, listen, we need to be at full strength. And, getting those guys back on the floor is important for us, and they both had a couple good days of practice.
He and Sam, how are they feeling health-wise?
And Sam?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he'd been sick.
Oh, yeah, he's fine. Oogie still isn't doing anything. There's a pretty good chance that Oogie will be shut down for the rest of the season.
What sticks out about Rutgers? Do you care for them?
Yeah, tough, physical. Just everything that Coach Peichel has always done with his team is get them out and go out and play with unbelievable effort. And, you look at that Michigan State game where they were up double digits for a lot of that second half. And, really, I felt should have won that game. So, they're always very dangerous, especially in the rack. They, the way they play, the way they can get the crowd behind them. Obviously, early game, important to get off to a good start. But, this team's playing extremely hard, coming off the West Coast. And, I know they're going to be ready.
What makes the rack difficult to play in?
Yeah, it's the rack is one of the great venues in our sport. It's old. It's the ceiling's low. And, when they get that crowd behind them, it's hard. It's hard to hear. And, we got to make sure that we're on point. Communications, hand signals, got to make sure we're ready for all that. And, I give our guys credit. They've played solid on the road all year, even looking at the one loss that we had at Michigan. I thought our guys played with great poise and composure for most of that game. And then we're going to have to do that for 40 minutes on Saturday.
Will a medical redshirt be pursued for Oogie?
Possibly. We'll explore all that, once we figure out exactly the route we're going to go with Oogie.
I know Rink hasn't shot it maybe as well as he wanted like the last few weeks, but if there's anyone who has sort of the toughness to get through that, is he like that kind of guy? Yeah,
Rink, again, the discipline, the work that he puts in, he's going to get it going again. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'll say this, having to stay off his feet for a week, it probably got his legs back, once he gets his conditioning back where he needs it to be. So he's gonna take the lid off. He's too good a shooter. Every time he shoots it, I think it's going in. Every time he shoots it, his teammate thinks it's going in. It just, listen, we've all been through it. Anybody that's been a shooter in this game, you go through those slumps, and all it takes sometimes to see one going in, and also an easy one. If you can get a layup or get a free throw, that makes that those long ones a little bit easier.
After watching the tape from Sunday, was there anything you saw differently that maybe you didn't see in the game that was effective?
Well, I still know that Illinois is really good. That's for sure. And I don't know if you guys saw their game last night, but they're just playing on a whole different planet right now. I loved our finish. I thought the finish to the half was unbelievable. I thought we took all the momentum into halftime, and then unfortunately we gave it back to them very quickly, and then they controlled tempo, and they did everything they needed to do to close out the game. But, finishing off possessions, I talked about that. And again, Illinois, they're the best in the country at it. They get almost half their misses back, but they exposed us in that area in a big way. And then, just our inability to defend without fouling. And, they hurt us obviously at the line, and we just gave them too many extra possessions. So a lot of learning lessons. Got to be better across the board if we want to get back on track.
You mentioned these couple days between games, good for guys who are banged up. Is there a mental benefit to that too, of guys just being able to focus on themselves and not a quick 2-day prep like they're?
Yeah, it just, Wilson, I think it just gives you a chance to get back to the basics a little bit, which we needed. And, listen, we were brutal on the offensive glass. It was the worst we've had all year as far as attempting to go in. We're not built that way, but, I just thought we completely gave in on that end of it. And then, just find a way to get our toughness back and get our swagger back. You lose a couple games, and sometimes you think the sky's falling in. And, at the end of the day, you lost to 2 top 5 teams. But there's a lot of things that they did, and there's a lot of things that we did that could have prevented that and got us on the other side of it. So, for us, it's the little things. It's our running habits. It's our sharing the ball. It's taking care of the ball. It's rebounding. Our transition defense has been really good all year, but I felt we gave a few away in transition as well. So, it's been a good week. It's been a good week for us to get back on the practice floor and get a lot of things accomplished.
I imagine you guys expect teams to be more physical with the cutting and stuff like that you guys do. What's just sort of maybe the counter to that to do?
Yeah, listen, we got to cut with more force and purpose. I think that's part of it. And we got to do a better job within the flow of our offense of reading when to back cut and reading if they're top blocking us, when to slip out, or we can screen rink in those situations as well, or are big. So there's just, there's little things within the system. If they're taking this away, if they give you a lane to the basket, take it. That's what we tell our guys. And we've missed a few of those opportunities that I thought we were pretty good at earlier in the year. But, listen, teams as the year goes on, they get more physical. That's just the way that this thing goes, and we have to handle it better. And, again, I think we will. We've got the personnel. We've got the lineup certainly where we have shooting all over the court, and we need to take advantage of it. When teams pressure us, your eyes should light up a little bit, and you should find a way to get some easy baskets.
What makes Francis so hard for Rutgers to slow down? He takes basically all the
Yeah, Francis he's unbelievable. His ability to score it, tough shots. We have to stay down on his pump fakes. He does a great job getting himself to the free throw line, and just try to make him take as tough a shots as you can, knowing he's going to make some. You can't get deflated when those things happen, but he's really, really talented, and his mid-range shots. You want to give some of those up, but he's elite. He is elite in the mid range. So just again, make it as difficult as possible, but you can't hang your head if he makes a few of them.
I think Dusty May said he'd like to put a GPS on like Price Sanford, just how he moved. Did you know even when he was a recruit that he's just that type of guy who can go the whole game kind of with that movement?
Yeah, it takes being in great shape to be able to move the way that Price does. We obviously run him off a lot of screens. And he's a huge part of what we do with his movement. And, sometimes, listen, the result is it opens up something for somebody else because they jump out on a screen. It allows the big to slip to the basket with all the attention that he gets on his cuts. When he gets overplayed, we tried to force one to him the other day. We threw it out of bounds. We have a counter to that. So when teams play that way, we got to recognize. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, just the uncharacteristic turnovers that we had in the last game, to get those extra shots, at least get him up on the board. But yeah, Price, his movement is terrific. He's reading situations, continues to read them better as he's gone on throughout this season. And did we know it? We knew he could shoot, but his ability to shoot it and the degree of difficulty on some of his shots is as good as anybody in the country.